Recently, my channel hit 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate every single one of you that has subscribed so far. It has been a really good time, especially recently, and I figured a way to include the community in something to thank everybody is to have a little Q&A. I put up a community post asking you guys to ask me questions, and I would answer them in a video such as this. I was a little bit worried I wasn't going to get enough questions, but I ended up getting 10, so pretty good numbers, I would say. Anyways, let's jump right into it with the first question. Question number one comes from @TricksterNut1129. What's your background? Like, did you come from CS or any other game? So in terms of my background, in terms of like gaming and like esports background, it's not really anything too exciting. I used to play Smash Bros back in the day. I played the Wii U version when that came out. I know, cringe. And then I did play Ultimate as well. And those were the two games that really got me into esports and got me into this scene. And then Valorant came out and I was like, well, this is a cool new game. I've been playing it since beta. On and off, I don't constantly play the game. In fact, I've watched the game more than I play it at this point because of this channel. I'm not a pro player. I wasn't super involved in the Smash community like no one there would know me aside from people that I've met personally. And for personal background, I am a dude from Canada who works as a video editor. Next question comes from @AloneSolstice4740. He's been a regular commenter for a while now, so thank you, Alone Solstice, for sticking around. He asked, what was the first game you watched as an esport? So going back to what I was saying about Smash Bros being the game that kind of got me into esports, the, I guess, technically first game I ever watched like pro competition of is probably Melee. I was never really a huge Melee guy. I love watching Melee, and Melee, definitely have a lot of memories playing that game as a kid. But playing it now, there's definitely a learning curve when it comes to Melee, and I just played Smash 4 instead when that game came out. But yeah, it was basically, I watched Melee, I watched probably the documentary on it. That docu-series definitely got me into the scene, and then I started playing Wii U because I was having fun with that, and then Ultimate came out, and then that was probably when I really got into esports for a minute there. I still keep up with Smash here and there. I'm not super invested in it, but I do hopefully plan to change that in the future months, and maybe we start making Smash Bros content. That is a plan of mine for this year eventually. @Nim4588 asks, well-deserved G, thank you very much. I really want to know if a Discord server and co-streams are planned. I think that it could be so fun talking about anything in an organized place instead of the YouTube comment section. That is a good idea. I haven't really put much thought into having a Discord server yet. I used to just do streams, and I think I got to like 150 followers on Twitch or whatever. And I also had one other attempt at being a YouTuber. I was trying to do like a streamer YouTuber kind of thing, and it didn't really work out. But I did have a Discord server for that community, and I feel like I just made it a bit too early. So I'm trying to avoid making a server too early now, but I do feel like 1,000 subscribers is probably a pretty good place to make a server in. So I will think about it a bit more, and then I'll think about how I want to do it, and then I can make one in the next couple weeks or something. But we'll see. I don't use Discord a lot anymore, but definitely for a community, it's probably a good hub to have. So yeah, just stay tuned for that. And for co-streams, I definitely want to do watch parties for VCT matches. I think that'd be super fun. You might need permission from Riot to do it, so I'm like, I don't know if I want to just like go ahead and do it. I probably just could without getting permission. I don't know if they would give permission to a person with just 1,000 subscribers who also doesn't really stream at this point. But I do want to eventually start streaming, and then hopefully eventually I can do some watch party stuff. Again, I might just like do it, but I don't want to just do a watch party where it's just me just watching it, talking to chat. I want to add a different element to it. I have an idea for that. So whenever that does happen, which hopefully will happen in the future, it's probably going to be something fun. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I'm Happy Sad 3730 says, what exactly got you into Valorant, and what about Valorant continues to interest you and keep you so invested within the esports scene? So as I said earlier, I've been playing Valorant since beta. I was just kind of like, it was during COVID when that game came out. It was like June 2020 was when the game officially launched, but it started beta in like April of 2020. I did get it, so I've technically been playing Valorant since beta, just because it seemed like a cool, fun game. Right now, Valorant interests me more as an esport than it does as an actual game, if that makes sense. Playing Valorant can either be really fun or can be the worst experience and worst way to use your free time. The map pool is garbage right now. Your teammates can just be the most brain dead people on planet Earth. Even if you're doing good, you could be running into a hacker or into a smurf or into just any variable annoyance. I do enjoy playing the game, and when it's fun, it's very fun. But when you're doing bad and when you're not having a good time, it is so just like, you know that feeling where you hop into a game and you get into a map you don't like and you're like, oh, I can't dodge because then I'll get penalized. And then you choose your characters, and then the team comp ends up being like 3 duelists or something, and then the game starts and 3 rounds in, you already know you're gonna lose, and then no matter how hard you try to have that not be the case, it just ends up being the case anyway. That's been happening to me a lot lately, so playing the game is definitely not my favorite at this point, but it is a fantastic esport. It's really fun to watch, and I do like what they've done with the franchise league, and I think that's kind of the main reason why I'm so invested. I know people have problems with the way that Riot runs Valorant, with, you know, how the leagues are set up with the franchise teams, and oh, there's not enough players in North America able to play tier 1 games, even though they definitely can. And I understand that there are problems, there are pros and cons to a franchise league, but at the same time, Riot seems to be having this vision of esports with both League and with Valorant that is kind of aligning with what I want esports to be. Large-scale events, regional leagues, people being able to go to games within a season, being able to actually go to just a random regular season game and just being able to watch some really cool Valorant. And again, the way that Riot does it a lot of the time with, you know, their format and how their schedule works, it's definitely not always the best, but I do think that they're the front runners in the esports industry, and Valorant is a very interesting case right now, and it's just been highly entertaining. For as many problems as people have with the franchise league, usually people still just end up going and watching it. So I definitely think as an esport, it's in a really good spot. As a game, it could be better. At Do Meet Val, love that name, asks, what's your Valorant background, rank, etc.? In terms of rank, right now, bronze. I think the highest I've been is like gold 1. So yeah, I am not very good. I've never been fantastic at games. I love games, I play games all the time, and I definitely love esports, but in terms of my individual skill, it's not very good. And also just because I don't have a lot of time to like grind the game out. I have a full-time job, I have a girlfriend that I love very much and I spend a lot of time with. I have this channel to run, so actually being able to like grind the game out, it's quite difficult. But I do plan on hopefully maybe doing some streams where I can try to get my rank up. And you know, for anybody that, you know, just heard me say bronze and wanted to unsubscribe because they don't think my opinions matter if I'm bad at the game, I just want to remind those people that many people in sports media, in like regular sports media, they're not pro players. They're not very good at the sport that they're talking about. You know, I watch hockey YouTubers that can't even skate. So I don't think that my opinion is better than anybody else's. I understand that I am very new to the scene, that I am not a pro player. I don't know all the things that they go through and the experiences that they have. And I will never act like my opinion is better than anybody else's. I can think I'm right on stuff, but again, I know that I don't have the same experience as pro players. I just try to do as good as I can with my insights, with my opinions, and with the content and the things that I say to you guys. So hopefully people hearing I'm bronze doesn't make people want to leave or not listen to me, but I mean, if you do, then I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm not great at Valorant, but I do love the esports side of it. At NLT5037 says, which VCT and VCL teams do you like the most and least, and why? In terms of favorite teams, I would have to say it definitely changes a lot, but right now it's probably Energy at number 1. I was a fan of the Optic roster back in 2021 and 2022, so this is obviously just the continuation of it with Victor and Crashies and Marved. I've always liked Victor and Crashies. I was a big FNS fan when he was on that team as well. FNS and Marved are Canadian, so definitely love that. For my second favorite team, it's probably PaperX. They're just a supremely fun team to watch, and they have gotten so close to winning the tournament so many times now, it just absolutely pains me. But they are one of the main teams that I'm cheering for to eventually finally win their first international tournament. I don't know if it ever happens at this point. You know, they actually made a roster change very recently, which we're going to get to later in the video because somebody asked me about it. But they're just a really, really fun team to watch. Really like Forsaken, really like Divide. There's a lot of talent on that team, and they're very fun to watch. Number 3 right now is probably Sentinels, which if you asked me that like even a year ago, I probably would have had them like near the bottom of my list. I didn't like their 2021 roster when they were winning everything. I just thought that they were just too cocky, too just like, oh, we're better than everybody else now, except for TenZ. I love TenZ. I've always loved TenZ. But this roster, they're extremely dedicated. They're really fun to watch. They have this crazy just ability to just come back and be very resilient. And those are definitely qualities that I really like in players and coaches and teams. So yeah, they're definitely number 3 right now. Yeah, definitely Energy number 1, number 2 Paper X. In terms of least favorite teams, I don't really have any like least favorite teams. I don't dislike many players in the league. I don't really dislike any specific roster or their roster construction, but there are orgs that I don't like for various different reasons. Usually it has to do with how they treat players. Generally, when it comes to issues of like roster moves and, you know, players moving around, I'm definitely very pro player. I usually try to support the individual player because, you know, an org might be putting them in a bad situation, or they might bring them on and then drop them after 2 matches. Yay. And when it comes to players, I understand that it's a business and, you know, competitive sports can be very, very ruthless, but I definitely think that players a lot of the time are given the short end of the stick. So in terms of orgs that I dislike because of things like that, Cloud9, obviously, I had the rant video about them. Definitely not a huge fan of that org right now. Evil Geniuses as well, just how they handled the offseason was just terrible, and I disliked how they treated all those players that just won them a championship. So those are probably the 2 orgs that I'm like, I don't really want these teams to win, not because of the players, probably just Cloud9 or EG, just as organizations. I don't want them to win just because I don't want their actions to be validated. In terms of VCL, I like Moist X Shopify, M80's cool, Oxygen's good now. But yeah, just, you know, I don't really care too much about the tier 2 scene. I do pay attention, and I make videos where I can about it. But, you know, mainly I'm just focused on Franchise League because that's where all the tier 1 stuff is. At Bucket Dipper says, that's my goat. Thank you very much. With the recent announcement that Jane is back on Paper X's active roster, how do you see them addressing Monier's position? Do you think the team switches to a 6-man roster, Monier on perma bench, etc.? It's funny because I didn't actually know that Jane was back on Paper X until he posted this comment, and I like checked it just like on the day that it was posted, and I was just like, wait, what? Jane's back? And then I checked VLR, and sure enough, there it is. So I'll probably dive deeper into that in a separate video about either Paper X or the Pacific region in general, but I will say that, you know, Jane coming back immediately puts Paper X back into contention for any tournament. I think they should be considered. I mean, if they make it to Shanghai, if Jane doesn't struggle out the gate, you know, they can definitely be tournament contenders for both Shanghai and Champions. And for Monier, that's just really unfortunate for him. He wasn't playing bad. I know he was getting a lot of hate from a lot of fans of Paper X, but it's because he's trying to replace one of the best players, if not the best player that plays Raze in the world. So if you're trying to replace a player that is the top of their position, that is an extremely, extremely tough ask. And he wasn't really given a fair shot. I mean, even in the offseason, they were playing Jane with this roster just to kind of give him one last go. Apparently it wasn't the last go though. But also I don't really blame the org for this one, because if you're Paper X, you know, you just got top 3. You know, Monier, he was playing really well at certain points, but definitely struggled at the tournament. I thought he was definitely feeling more comfortable by the end of it. But if you have Jane, a player you know fits with your roster, you know is really good, you know is the top of his class with his role, you kind of have to take that. So it's just one of those cases where the org has to make the best decision for the org. It just ends up just screwing over a player. So I don't really know how they address it. Maybe he just stays on the bench, and then if they feel like, if maybe Paper X comes out the gate struggling during the regular season, maybe Mind Freak sits and then they put Monier in. There is a chance he could play on Paper X again this year, but I wouldn't really bet on it. I would probably say that they either keep him as an extra for the rest of the year, because, you know, it is good to have extras, or they work out something with a different org and they get him on a different team, which, you know, he's probably going to see himself on a different team anyway next year. So yeah, I don't really know, but my guess is probably stays an extra for the rest of the year. At That Nerd Kaizen asks, congrats man, loved your panic scale video, thank you very much. My question is, what are your top 3 favorite esports to watch? So Valorant number 1, and then 2 is probably Smash Ultimate, and then 3 is Melee, I would say. I watch a little bit of CS here and there when I can. I watch a little bit of Rocket League as well, but generally just Valorant and the 2 Smash games are my top 3 right now and have been for quite some time. At QABID says, have you ever thought or tried to compete, and what thing have you noticed from people who are new and or up and coming that makes them stand out, e.g. brand connections, so and so. So me personally, I haven't really tried to compete all that much, especially not in Valorant as per my rank. I've thought about doing like a premier team, and I definitely have some funny content ideas that I will eventually think about. In terms of what I see from people who are up and coming, if you're talking about like pro players, I think one thing I definitely see is that individual skill usually isn't enough. You have to be able to be really good at streaming and be able to, be a person that is, that can get sponsorships and can be a good face for the brand of the esports team. So that's kind of an interesting thought when you think about it in comparison to regular athletes, because that's definitely a thing for regular athletes, but for streamers, it feels like the content side of it is much more important than the actual competition side of it, which is definitely one of the main differences that I see in esports versus sports. Both things are important in both esports and regular sports, but it seems much more prevalent in esports. So that's just some kind of interesting thing that I observe. And we see at Trickster Nut again, he says, but what does this mean for C9? I get this comment so much, even on videos that aren't about C9. I guess this is like a FNS meme. I didn't know what it was at first, and then I like searched it up, and yeah, I guess it's a meme because FNS hates them or whatever. He's known as a C9 hater. But yeah, C9 it doesn't mean much, I would say. I definitely want to stop having this comment, but probably not going to happen. So continue away, and I guess maybe eventually we will find out what it does mean for C9. So thank you all very much for all these questions. I really appreciate you guys, asking me about me. If you have any more questions, you can leave them in the comments and maybe I'll respond to them or make another Q&A sometime in the future. Back to regular content tomorrow. Got some videos coming at you during the week, so stay tuned for those. And again, thank you all very much for 1,000 subscribers. It's been super fun to make content lately, and I'm just really happy with how everything's gone so far. So thank you, and please click like if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.